and Evil with the damage that he was outputting from the back line. So he needs to continue stepping it up. He needs to continue performing, especially against these stronger teams like C9.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he performs once he's against this lineup of Cloud9. Now, let's talk a little bit about the draft, because obviously Cloud9 yesterday played some pretty aggressive compositions. We saw the CP Fortress coming in for Cloud9 yesterday. We saw Gabe Vizzle also playing it on Captain. Actually, maybe they didn't play CP Fortress, that was someone else. But Gabe Vizzle definitely played it Captain anyway. They like to be aggressive, and we saw that yesterday. Is that going to be the same story coming through here today?
I think so. There's no reason for them not to run these incredibly aggressive compositions. They work so well with these players and with the strategies they try and run. That's going to be a pedal banned right off the bat from Rogue.
I think this is a matter of Rogue not having anything specific that they want to ban first. So they're saying, we know Cruel is a great pick for us, so we'll just get rid of the pedal early on since we don't have anything else we want to ban. I think that what they wanted to do is pick Grace and had planned that in the case Cloud9 bans Grace, they take Catherine.
There's also the fact that I Love Joseph has run this pedal and has done incredible things with this, so making sure that that's not an option, just in case it's something that you know you can't deal with.
So the issue for Rogue I see here is they've banned Petal and Fortress both great into Cruel. The Cruel is still open. This can just be picked up for Cloud9, and now there's not a whole lot they can pick.
They must have something prepared for it. Let's see what it is exactly. I mean, a few things that can run well, and I was going to say Rhyme. Pond the Original is very confident in his Rhyme, especially into other characters that he also plays well, like the Cruel. So this is a plan, a very specific plan that Rogue came with into this draft, and they're about to execute.
Yeah, I mean, their draft was so quick. They didn't even touch this bonus time. They barely even used the time allocated to each pick. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. So this is clearly a plan that they are coming into the series with, and that they feel like they can execute. And you can see now that Cloud9's, thinking about this last one a bit. Maybe they're sitting here wondering, okay, they clearly wanted to do this. We need to think of some way to make sure we can deal with it.
And Cloud9 are going to take their time here. Lyra doesn't really synergize very well with Cruel and Vox. I was going to say either Lance or Arden, because Finn is also immobile. They choose to go for Lance. We mentioned yesterday Gabe Vizzle is extremely confident on this hero because he's so mechanically skilled, and he did a great job with it yesterday. They choose it again. Vox Cruel Lance is still a very strong comp, but I'm just a little bit worried that Rogue is coming in with such confidence and such a plan aheadly prepared.
I mean, we talked about Cloud9 being intimidating. That was an intimidating way to play draft, which is not a sentence I expected to say today, but Rogue coming in just blasted through the draft. They knew exactly what they wanted to pick, and also kind of drafted Cloud9 into a corner.
Yeah, the fact that there was no hesitation whatsoever is really impressive. It's very difficult to go into a draft with a specific game plan and be able to execute it fully like that. Usually there's some sort of hiccup thrown in there, and that's what they did.
All right, well, it's time to get on into this one. We'll see if Rogue are going to be as confident on the Halcyon Fold as they were in the draft. Hashtag Vainglory8 to let us know whether you're supporting Cloud9 or if you want Rogue to upset on this one. Let's get on into the game and pass it to Humanist and the Source.
Well, that's right. We have our second semifinals of the day, Rogue vs. Cloud9. This is going to be a great series. And of course, as Munchbull said, I'm joined by the Source. And it's great to have you here, my friend. How are you liking these drafts?
I definitely favor the side of Cloud9. Not to say that the draft from the side of Rogue doesn't have merits and doesn't have a way that it could win. I feel that they're going to need really good execution towards the early portion of the game. If they fall behind, they're going to be kited, they're going to be outmaneuvered, and it won't be until we get later into the game where Evolve can maybe even double Blast Tremor, gets an Echo, that I feel that they're going to be able to confidently engage these fights if C9 can kite them. If they do manage to get on top of C9, Old School will be obliterated, no question.
Oh, they're fighting for the Elder Tree, and it looks like it's going to go the way of Hammy, so he's happy to grab that. And he's got a large wave built up here in the lane that Evil's been holding for him. It was an interesting early rotations as Old School immediately went up to the lane and did his best to push that out. And of course, Hammy and Pong went through that jungle and carry rotation early on here.
Yeah, Cloud9 deciding that they don't necessarily need to bring their laner in to be able to pick up that additional farm that we've been seeing out of this double, sometimes even triple jungle strategy coming up from teams that we are on update 2.8, and it's resulted in, not a huge change in gold, but it does mean that Hami is a little bit ahead in terms of experience, and now Old School will get punished a little bit.
Is there a chance that we see a CP Vox? Or did they just go double weapon?
I honestly don't know, because like there's always a possibility, but we do have a fight here on this other trio.
Oh, there's always a possibility. I mean, the game could malfunction. I could start playing in here.
Well, no,
I don't know.
I'm thinking about it further. I think we see double weapon power, but who knows? Old School's a good enough player that you could make either of those strategies work out. Maybe they decide that going into double weapon power pigeonholes them too much in terms of damage type, and they're not going to be able to get through what could be a huge amount of armor stacking that would come out of Rogue. But we'll have to see a little bit further in. I mean, obviously we'll know after the next item. I think it ends up being double weapon power.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Gabe landing the Impale, get the Walsh, just warming that combo up there. Gabe, one of the best at getting those get the walls. Obviously, Evil doing his best to, land the merciless pursuits. You're not always landing them just to make a play happen, but he's getting those stacks up.
Yeah, we can see some clear difference. It's about 300 gold in Hami's favor. Some of that off of the jungle, some of that off of the stacked up wave. This is the third time that they've brought Hami in to just take that away. Actually, it went over to upon the original, so not getting the last hit on that one, but they've been very confident with just rotate in, body out the members of Cloud9. Don't even really allow them to position to contest that, because they're always a little bit ahead of the play on the rotation. Now we've got I Love Joseph sitting in this bush. Gabe Visible shows, but he gets the Impale.
Yeah, he's on to Evil. Evil, the one taking the damage, get the wall back. A lot of damage, healing flask out. Can Evil get out of here? Spectral Smite comes through. They chop him down. First blood, 3.5 minutes in here for C9.
Yeah, they have to brute force it a little bit, but they're going to go in a second.
Another Impale, Dead Man's Rush. Oh, they started him out of the rock. Like Hammy turns. The damage coming through. Gabe almost going down. He'll just port Star out of here with style. Punch shows up and there's nothing he can do.
Yeah, that was I'd say the first one was forced and the second one was just well executed, because I thought that they might have gone a little too far off of the first one, but just landing that Githian wall mid-air to get it knock Hami into the turret, I think that was just, they were feeling it at that point. There wasn't anything that could stop them from setting up such a good play. And now we see some of these items coming through. We've got I Love Joseph working on that tension bow. Isn't there just yet, but has the gold for it, so just needs to walk over to the shop. We've got the poison chip out on Old School, so possibly going for the double tension bow, kind of the older strategy for building out Vox. And we'll really just look to stack up that damage over time, let Gabe Vizzle line him up and have Old School knock him down.
Yeah, it's going to be huge burst potential coming out. Already, they have a lot of damage ready to go for this team. Gabe has his fountain. Evil has his own fountain. It's Rogue sitting a little bit of a level disadvantage in the captain position here. Pawn, he's had his level 6 for a while. He's moving up here, has that Valkyrie ready to go, but you have to be so clean with the targeting.
Yeah, they also have to get close enough, and that's always going to be a challenge when you have a player as good as Gabe Vizzle on a lance. The Githian walls are usually there. Now, maybe they feel confident starting that up with Hami, but Eval doesn't have the Blast Tremor yet, so you're missing one of those key teamfight ultimates, which means that there's still a bunch of time for C9 to kind of push some of the advantage they have. They've managed to catch up in terms of gold. They've got really good positioning here. They're not going to get a bunch of free damage onto this turret, and for the moment, it seems like C9 is dictating the pace, even though the game looks very even.
Yeah, and Hammy's going to have that long cooldown on that Rocket Leap. He gets up there, gets the last hits, and should have a moment, so it's not going to actually be trouble for him. But the cooldown on Rocket Leap's a big deal. Like, if your opponents see that, a lot of times you saw him try to Rocket Leap out of the engagement. If he doesn't have that available, it's going to be a lot easier to kill him.
Yeah, and even if he does have that available, depending on how his positioning is, the side of C9, they can continuously chase. I Love Joseph seems very confident in his ability to go underneath the turrets. When you've got kind of a no-fear strategy going here for C9, and confidence in their team capability, but in their mechanics overall for all of their players, you have to be worried about Hami stepping too far forward. Even once we're not even dealing with the turret, just depending on his positioning, he has used the Rocket Leap again to get back into the lane a little bit faster. I don't think the members of C9 saw it, but they may find a surprise because they're more than willing to get aggressive.
Oh, they definitely are. We can see, when they turn up, they really go full speed. For me, Source, I think the wild card here is Pawn the original. Like, it's going to be up to Pawn to kind of get in there, land some disables, sustain through the damage, and at this point, it's like, you know, what Hammy doesn't have the damage. He's got to get some overdriven abilities now. Joseph caught out, another stun. Joseph's in a bad place. Gabe Fizzle with a nice get the involved. Wait for it's going to come through, an impale over the top, but they've lost I Love Joseph. Now the chase is on. So who would they go for? Old School seems to be the target. They got the big red button on. Nice. Gabe knocks him out of there, so it won't connect fully. I don't think they would have found the kill anyway. Combat roll over the wall. Rocket leap forward. Hammy. Gabe Fizzle right back over it. He lands a two-man impale. Who is this guy? How does he do it? I don't know. He's got the Githian wall. He lands everything.
Perfect mechanics, and I love that Githian wall that just push Hami from the side, realign Hami's targeting computer for him. Just decide, you need to be a little bit more to the left. And that sets up a good play for them. Now, I Love Joseph did get engaged on at the start of that, so, you know, we were talking about Pawn the original. We'll see what kind of X factor he can be. We'll see what he brings to the table. You know, pretty good rhyme play. But that was them catching C9 out. They were able to pick up that one kill. Let's see what happens when it's a little bit more of an even engagement piece. Even within that, I Love Joseph was kiting in and out of that fight. He was sitting on top of all three members, juking them left and right, and still outputting damage and surviving. Imagine if he's doing that with a full health bar.
Yeah, it's true. He did have the healing flask, so you know, if they catch him with that off cooldown, that's going to be a big deal. But Gabe, man, dropping down that Githian wall, peeling for him. It's true what you say, though. If he comes in with full health, especially if he's able to land one of these ultimates. Let's see. C9 move up as a unit. Rogue are there as well. Two-man impel to start things off. Joseph, dead man's rush onto Pawn. Wait for it. Comes down over the top. Another stun, but Pawn's still alive. The Fountain comes out. He's going to drop the Valkyrie as they turn and look to reverse it. Everybody stays alive at the end of it. But the big deal for me is C9 holds on to their Fountain.
Yeah. That's huge. The fact that they didn't feel that they necessarily had to commit that. That's nerves of steel from Gabe Fizzle. And item-wise, Old School has picked up that Sorrow Blade. He also picked up the Poison Shiv, which means that I Love Joseph doesn't need to. He can now go into that breaking point, pick up that additional damage, and then can start to tank up. So that, you know, slight sacrifice on Old School's late-game carry damage will let I Love Joseph get closer to his mid-game, late-game build, and then maybe Old School decides to sell that later on to pick that up. So, you know, that's not necessarily what they might have been thinking of, but it's an interesting result and allows for them to be able to do some things in this team fight. Here we go.
Rogue may have made mistakes. Let's see if they can clean this one up. Joseph's in here, Old School, doing what he can. Sonic zooming around. They've got the damage. They take down Hammy. And now Pawn, you're in a bad place. They've traded 1 for 1, but they're probably going to lose Pawn as well here. Just a matter of time. Is he going to take Gabe down? No. Gabe actually lives through it with a healing flask right at the end. Evil forced to watch his team just fall down there. Now, I was thinking C9, that was going to be a bold move if they went for a Crystal Sentry there.
Yeah, nothing that aggressive. Alright, well, let's take a look at this one more time, because a couple of interesting things happen here. So Pawn, the original, survives an incredibly long amount of time and almost finishes Gabe Fizzle. But Hami is forced to jump towards enemy territory, and then they all group up. This is a triple melee composition, more or less. Yes, Pawn, the original, has a little bit of range, but it's such a problem that even though they're able to dish out consistent damage on the I Love Joseph, they all had to stack to do it. This let Old School kite around the side of the fight, pretty much stay full health the entire way through, apply lots of damage, apply that mortal wound, and be able to reduce all of the healing that would have come out from the side of Rogue.
And we're 10.5 minutes in here, 4-2 in favor of C9. They have a small net worth advantage. Also, just going to throw this out there, I think it's Hammy. I heard you say Hammy.
Hammy.
We'll do it. I was letting it go just in case he died, and I was saying he needs to call us Mommy, but we'll let it go. He's Hammy. I think Hamuel Jackson when I see Hammy. But yeah, of course, just a monster beast. He's got the overdriven Thunder Strikes at this point, ready to crit. He's building into that crit, probably another 1 second item now. Old School's gonna throw the wait for it to come through. They've already used their block. Oh, the stun comes out. They block out the blast trimmer. Now C9 are turning up. This is the C9 we know and love, and with this, they should be able to take any objective on the map that they want.
Yeah, and that's the first clean from Hazard that has landed. Good stun onto Old School, solid damage. He tanked up a couple tower shots there.
Yeah, he did tank up those turret shots. Oh, Old School goes down. Way too many turret shots there. They take Pawn out. They traded 1 for 1, but C9, I don't think that was the play they wanted.
I think they just didn't break the turret aggro. Like, that's all there is to it. Old School thought he had broken the turret aggro, decided to jump back in there, put on some more pressure, and Turret said, no, I still see you, friend, and fires off a few more shots, finishes him off. So, slight misposition. He now has his breaking point, so those stacks are definitely going to be building up. I think he just finished that before, right after he died. I Love Joseph probably working on the same. So, the longer these fights go, the more damage that's going to come out from the side of C9. Question is can they survive? Because although they did open that up with a really, really good fight, we can see there's still a lot of damage from the side of Rogue.
A lot of damage indeed. I mean, a weapon jewel is insane burst potential. That is not sustained damage. Now there's a case to be made for, I guess, for like a breaking point build occasionally, but up against this Vox, I'm pretty sure he wants to just burst him down, but he's a little bit behind right now. He's gonna throw out that big red button. Gabe Bizzle lines up for the impale with that combat roll. And he was like, I think I'm gonna get out of here. I do not like what's coming down the pipe at me right here. C9 almost taking Hammy out, but still as a unit up here in the lane. Pawn ready to play games. Pawn, what's the play here? A two-man impale. A nice silence coming out from Evil, and Evil is going to move back in. Evil, he went for the second one as well. They're getting lit up. Hammy just blown up immediately. Now they're on to Old School. Can Pawn stick to him? He's got the chill ones. Yes, he takes him down. Pawn, don't think you're going to get out of here. Look at the sustain. It's so good. So good at sustain. Now Joseph and Gabe, they're like, you know the turret's on us, but we don't really care. We're pretty tanky indeed. Evil playing games with them, trying to buy time. This turret will be going down, Evil. Not much you can do about it, bud.
Yeah, needs to be careful about possibly getting killed himself. If Gabe Bizzle lands enough good crowd control, they might be able to do this.
Oh, he got an echo. Oh, I got one too. And he's gonna move forward. Spectral Smite's gonna come through. Oh, Evil calculated a beautiful mind. Somebody make a movie about it.
Well, he does manage to survive that one, but it's still C9 in clear advantage. They're about 2k gold up, but the Farmhouse Hearts aren't really connecting onto the right targets. They keep getting reflex blocked. Now, that's going to happen over the course of the game. It's going to be difficult for them to land them consistently. However, they need to kind of worm their way through the enemy composition. The last team fight they had up in the lane before that tower went down, where they were able to really land that from House Heart and get that initial pick, they kind of held it. They wormed their way through. I Love Joseph kited his way up into the backline, got Hammy down reasonably low, and then secured that kill with that additional stun. So maybe they need to take a little bit more time on the engagement. Yes, Gabe Bizzle wants to go pretty deep and dive the enemy line team, but Old School might be in trouble here.
Old School throws out the wait for it. He Sonic zooms right back forward. They're on to Hammy. Hammy trying to trade. Old School lives through it though, and he's getting breaking point stacks here. Up on the original, drops the Winter Spire. Another Sonic zoom. Old School will go down. Joseph's there. Gabe Bizzle as well. They're able to get a double kill. And you see they're splitting them apart so well.
Yeah, although I do think that Old School is getting really, really aggressive with these with his kiting to try and pick up the kill onto Hammy. He gets it pretty much every time, but afterwards, Pawn the Original is able to hunt him down on run, and he has to kite through the team. He hasn't really been able to kite around like we saw with that earlier fight down by the item shop. That was great because he just stayed right on the outskirts of everything. These last few times to make sure that they secure that kill on a Hammy, he's put himself into a little bit of a dangerous position. Now, maybe as he finishes up some of his armor items, he'll survive a little bit longer, but we see good wait for it, but he goes right through the enemy team. Yes, there's a Sonic video. Yes, he shortens that time it takes to do that, but every single time, Pawn the Original manages to find it. They're winning the fight to the end, but it could be a little clean.
It looked like in that replay, like Evil was playing into a mirror. Like as he moved back, like Gabe was mirroring everything he did, and I didn't realize in the fight how much of that was on Gabe Bizzle to completely peel Evil away from his team. But when Catherine separated, he can't pull that stun out and peel for you. He just everything falls apart. Such a nice play by C9. They're gonna move as a unit up through the left tri-brush and impale blind into the brush. Gabe Bizzle, bold plays there. Would have looked good, but they're not gonna find anybody.
I mean, I'd say they have more than enough damage to be able to safely engage that. Old School's pretty much at full build. Gabe Bizzle seems pretty tanky. Does look like he's going for maybe an aftershock to give himself a little bit more punch when he does manage to land those impales. And now they have started up here onto the Kraken. I'm almost positive that Rogue has an idea this might be happening, but they do not feel confident going in there. And actually, maybe they don't know because they are farming. They're not even considering the contest.
Yeah, that was a free Kraken now. C9 They don't have the best push composition from like playing from range, but they have that burst, right? So if they can bait one of Rogue into position as they're trying to take this Kraken down, maybe they can go for it here. I don't know. How do you see it playing out?
Gonna be a difficult dive. Last time we saw them dive even with one person up. It depends on how they play the initial aggro. From Hell's Hearts aren't landing all that cleanly, so it has to be off the Impale.
All right, Hammy getting lit up right here. They're going to go ahead and move back. They block off the blast trimmer. Nice job by Joseph to get in there, pull a little bit of aggro, and then move right back out. Old School just jumps right back in with the Sonic Zoom. Look at the huge startup against the turret. They delete Hammy. And now they're looking for more. Kraken is still healthy, and she is mad. Gabe lands the Impale Pawn, moving back. Get Team Wall almost finding the stun. Gabe looking for another one. He finds another one. They're there. They have the damage. Couple breaking blade stacks. Oh, and C9 lulling all over Rogue. They're gonna take this choke point turret down as well. Evil dies out towards the east side.
Ace.
And 13-5, 17 and a half minutes in. C9 take the ace, and they're in the base.
Delayed from Hell's Heart is working every single time. They held it for a while and managed to get Hammy. It didn't last for that long, but then Githian Wall into second Githian Wall. This play from Gabe Vizzle has been great. And C9 will be able to close this one out.
Yeah, I think so many big ultimates we see. You know, a lot of emphasis put on the Echo, but the Echo on Lance is so OP with the double Githian walls in the hands of Gabe Vizzle. That was a beautiful thing. Well, from our perspective, it looked like C9 pretty much dismantled Rogue here in game one. Let's see what our analysts think about this one.
Well, Pon the Original certainly stepped up on his rhyme, had a decent scoreline, but generally speaking across the board, it was definitely Cloud9, the ones in control of the situation. Kind of expected, but Rogue, I don't think were just pushed aside necessarily. They definitely had a showing. It wasn't like it was a perfect game from Cloud9.
Yeah, and especially early on, the Cloud9 had to be a bit careful with where they were positioning and the way they were trying to move through the map, because Rogue was trying to put up a fight. He was trying to be very aggressive early on, but Cloud9 is just so skilled at being able to maneuver around. And then once Gabe Vizzle, gets a couple of activatables in his inventory, his usage of those items is just second to none. And you can see there were so many team fights that ended up with just multiple abilities from Rogue getting completely blocked by Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, this is also one of the first games we see Vox is being used to the lane pressure that he can apply. We mentioned it yesterday that Vox, Sky Weapon Power, Jewel, these are characters that we've seen apply the pressure and get advantages from them. Vox is another character, but until today we had not seen it, and C9 is one of the best teams to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've showed it right there. Let's take a look at a couple of the replays from that game. I believe we have a fight that happened around 9 minutes into the game. This is a double kill that came through for Cloud9.
And with this one, obviously, it was the initial engagement. Nice blocks here from the side of Rogue. It looked like maybe they were going to turn this one around, but the Jewel just getting stuck in the thick of things. That's the last place you want to be as a Jewel, is in the middle of your opponents if you aren't getting those immediate kills coming out.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that fight was incredibly close, right? That easily could have been a fight that went the way of Rogue. And these early fights like that, if it does go the way of Rogue, can often change the shape of the rest of the game. Now, we had another fight that went the way of Cloud9, and it led to a gold miner, which, these kind of situations around this point in the game, these are what determines who takes the match.
Yeah, I mean, this one was around the gold mine, and you saw how well Vox can kite out this triple melee composition. And with Cruel going in on Jewel and being able to burst her down, it took Rhyme so long to finish off Vox so that, or at that point, the team fight was already lost.
All right, well, we'll see. Well, we did see, in fact, Cloud9 taking a heavy advantage in this one. And we do have a little bit of more analysis coming out from our weatherman on the side. He's going to have a look at what happened towards the end of that game. We see when we saw Cloud9 pushing for the victory and taking this one on. So take it away, Sweet J. Explain the situation.
Thank you so much, Munchabos. This was an amazing fight. I mean, Gabe Vizzle, you're a god. But before we do that, let's talk about the fight. This is a key Kraken push, right? You can see at the turret, they're sieging it. This is the point where Rogue had to win the fight. So we're going to roll the clip here and see and watch what happens. So you can see the root will come in here. He lands the root. Beautiful there. He blocks the silence. You can see the silence is blocked. And then an echo is going to be used here. So he's going to echo right here. And watch what happens with Gabe here. He's going to use his Githian wall Just the perfect timing there, and then block the silence again, and he's going to be able to fountain Joseph. So we're going to roll the clip here and just watch this beautiful combo happen here. He blocks the silence. I mean, that's just amazing. Then he gets the fountain off for Joseph, so he basically survives that fight, because if Spaghetti was silenced, Joseph could have died that in that point, and then Cloud9 then pushes and takes the win there. So beautiful job by Cloud9 to win that fight. And I'll send it back to the desk.
Thank you very much, Suja. And this is why Gabe Vizzle is renowned for his mechanics. He's renowned for being this captain that can save his carries in those kind of situations. It's just, it's so difficult to play against that.
Yeah, and I wonder how many people out there even knew that you could block a Blast Jammer with a Githian wall. That was incredible play from Gabe Vizzle, like to prevent himself from being silenced. Obviously, his teammates still get silenced, but because he doesn't get silenced, he can still use the rest of his activations to be able to keep his teammates alive. Incredibly well played.
I mean, it's just C9 playing to their best that they could. We've seen them before and we see them again. Rogue came in very prepared and with a plan, but they just couldn't execute. I feel like even at times where they should have won teamfights and they should have gotten advantages, they just got outplayed mechanically by C9, and this is the type of intimidation that C9 can put on an enemy just because of how good they are.
Yeah, honestly, it feels like right now Cloud9 are at this level where they're already preparing for the World Championship while everyone else is preparing to try and get there in the first place. And I was very impressed by I Love Joseph in that game as well. He was playing the Crawl, and Crawl is something that we see a lot in the current meta, and we kind of see varying levels of performance on it, but Joseph absolutely on point for this entire game. But let's start to talk about the next game in this series. Cloud9 are now 1-0 up, and we'll see whether they can turn it into a 2-0 in the semi-final, or whether Rogue have got what it takes to pull themselves back in. And I mean, it's like we were saying earlier, a lot of those fights were on the edge of a knife. It really could have gone the way of Rogue, and had those early fights gone the way of Rogue, maybe the whole game does. So what is it that Rogue need to tighten up moving into this next draft?
The thing I'm going to be most curious about for Rogue is how quickly they're going to be actually in this draft. Because obviously they came into draft number 1 with a very clear game plan. It didn't quite work out. Now, are they going to be shaken? Because that can be almost as intimidating as, you know, we say they were intimidating in the draft by being able to go so quickly through it. But when you get beaten by that, now all of a sudden you can sit back and be like, wow, what we just had planned got beaten. Like, we couldn't even do it with what we thought was going to be perfect for us. So their mental state is going to be very much important here coming into game number 2.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Rogue did a good job of just playing to their strengths, because you can't really eliminate C9s. They have so many different things that they can play, and they play it to such a high level. So Rogue has the right idea of just playing around their strengths. They did it in the first draft. I want to see them do it again in this draft, but execute it a little bit better, play more confidently, and play as a unit.
Yeah, but still important to have that game plan in place and know where you're coming from. Not just kind of winging the draft as you go and seeing what they pick, but actually going for your own strategies here. Vox going to be the first pick for Cloud9 after a Grace and Catherine fairly standard first bans, going back to those captains.
I was saying yesterday during the draft for C9, during the match, they've always first picked the carry, or most of the time first pick the carry for old school, so that they can get him on a character that he's confident on, so that he can perform. Yesterday they didn't do it. I think that was just because they were going up against Tempo Storm. Now that they are in the semifinals, they're doing it again. Maybe we can expect it in the finals, even if they get through.
We'll have to see later on today if Cloud9 do make it to the finals. Rogue still in with a chance, but they have to win 2 games on the bounce. Lance will be the lock-in for Rogue now, looking towards this ban, but very much a more calculated, slower draft coming out for Rogue here. They don't have this same snappy plan where they could just rattle through in the same way as they did in draft number 1.
Yeah, obviously need to put a bit more thought into it. Maybe not expecting the Vox first pick either. But again, Cloud9, old school, this is a pick that he played so many times last season. 22 games of Vox in the summer season. So absolutely one of his favorite heroes to pick up, and going to be just falling back to it apparently now here early in autumn.
So we can already see the adaptation from Rogue in the draft. They pick up Lance to deny it from Gabe, but it's also Evil's one of Evil's top characters. We saw it yesterday against Nova. When he got it, he was able to perform really well on it, and then they end up banning the Rogue on the Cruel on the second rotation, which is a great ban against Joseph. He just had it against them in the first game, and he did great on it, so they're taking it off of him.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about how well Joseph did on that Cruel, so removing that pick from his hero pool. We'll see where Joseph is going to go later on in the draft with this one. But Cloud9 going to decide to take that Black Feather off the board, which means they could be leaning towards a Celeste, but Rogue would be more than happy to pick that up for themselves.
Yeah, they can either take the Celeste, the Scarf, or the Idris and be very comfortable with any of those three heroes. It's those late-game Crystal Power mages that Hammy has been playing exceptionally well, and I would love to see them go for either one of those three here just to make sure that they grab it before Cloud9 will have a chance to basically draft them into a hole and kind of force them to pick one of them.
So far, if they don't pick Rhyme, which is very unlikely now, especially since they picked up Scarf, we're going to get to see Pond the Original on a new hero, because yesterday he played only Cruel and Rhyme. First game he played Rhyme, now he's playing something different, so we get to see him on something different. The Sky and the Fortress come out. I'm expecting that Sky to be a jungle CP Sky. It works not so great with Fortress, but you still have the Vox to proc the bleeds. That's an interesting comp from C9.
Yeah, especially interesting into a Scarf as well. We've been talking yesterday about how Scarf is actually great at dealing with those wolves coming out.
This is actually a really smart pick for Cloud9, just because upon the original, most of his jungle pool that we have seen in any sort of recent memory is a melee hero that tries to run at you. Either it's, obviously the Kroll being banned away, the Rhyme not very likely, but that's the majority of his hero pool is these melee junglers. And Crystal Sky is very strong into any melee jungler that's trying to run at you, because she just throws out the forward barrage and moves backwards, and you are left with no option but to disengage completely or to just chase through it.
To add to your point, sorry to cut you off, Munchable, but to add to your point, since they picked up a CP laner, they have to pick up a weapon power jungler for the most part, and there aren't any weapon power junglers that are ranged. Most of them are melee, and that's where the Sky becomes a good prediction.
Unless you include Gwen from Von C, but let's not get into that wormhole. Now, Grumpjaw has been locked in as the final pick here. Not something that we've seen at all season, something we didn't really see towards the end of last season. Just very quickly, what do we think of this as a pickup for this weapon power jungler? Do we think it's going to fit?
I do think it's going to fit. He plays it very well, but the Sky is a huge counter.
All right, we'll see if they're going to be able to take on the Sky. It's time to jump into this game. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know whether you think Rogue could come back into the series. It's time once again to pass it over to Humanist and the Source.
I've got a feeling, Munchables, that this is going to be a tough hill to climb for Rogue. C9 have a powerful draft here, but the guy to break it down for you is going to be Source. Source, what do you think about this?
I like what C9's doing. It's highly mobile, but side of Rogue could burst through one of these squishier characters until I Love Joseph stacks up a little bit of defense, maybe gets some health. It's gonna be a struggle for him to survive the huge amount of damage that could come out of Grumpjaw, but C9 as a group instantly do this Elder Treant and will take that away, pick up that free bit of uncontested gold on the map, and will then move back into their own jungle.
Yeah, Rogue almost a bit of hesitation, as they didn't even actually start on another camp. They moved towards it and then back to the Elder Treant, but it was too late at that point. Oh my goodness. I did not notice. I didn't notice that Gabe was on Sky. My bad.
Wait. No, yeah, Sky CP jungle. Makes sense.
Well, Gabe Vizzle is going to wow us here. Potentially. Unless I'm just tripping out. Gabe Vizzle playing the Sky. Joseph on the Fortress. This should be an interesting game.
Oh, wait. Hold on. That's Gabe Vizzle. Wait,
hold the phone, please.
hold the phone. I just understood what you were saying. My brain just hadn't put that one together just yet. Oh my. Oh my.
Mio Mayo.
Give me a minute to think about how this is supposed to work.
I know, it's like I almost want to pause the game just so I have a moment to digest here. Gabe, look at the... Oh, Gabe's ready to play games, team. Everybody, I think he was like, I'm doing real good with this lance, but maybe you just give me a Sky. I'll show you what I can really accomplish here.
Maybe it's no major defensive items, like maybe you go Fountain and Crucible and that's it, and then it's all about stacking on that additional damage. Maybe they're going to push some of that tankiness onto I Love Joseph and just try and get him further and further into his build by allowing him to farm up the jungle.
Maybe they forgot to swap. Honestly, maybe they forgot to swap, and then Joseph's like, you know what? I'll just... Nope, they're... Okay, I guess he wasn't picking up defensive items early to start, but now he is.
Picked up the boots and the additional early bit of damage. I mean, I think that kind of makes sense for how you'd want to play that kind of early level 1. If you got into a team fight, the Sky has got a little bit of weapon power. You're more likely to be able to win that. You've got a lot of mobility, kiting potential. You can kind of fight in the enemy jungle if they'd shown up, but they didn't. So Rogue played it safe and didn't show up to that. And now we've got an interesting composition from C9. At minimum, it's going to be a fountain. I don't know what other items Gabe Vizzle ends up picking up. I am not versed in the Captain Sky build. I'm not sure who is, but clearly Gabe Vizzle has a plan and is going to see it through.
Let's pull Twitch chat. Hashtag Vainglory8. Put your tweets out now. Oh, sorry, strike! Dodging out that impale. He's here to play games, to have some fun. Fawn is going to move forward. He's grumpy on the old school. Hangry, a lot of damage coming out, but they're able to get back there. Sammy's not really putting out too much damage at this point. Gabe Vizzle, historically, when given the opportunity to build offensive items on his captain, has done it. Like, he always gets like what he needs for his team, but then will get an offensive item. So at one point or another, he's going to build something offensive.
Yeah, I don't know where this sort of puts the late game potential of these two team compositions. See how this fight goes as they fight over the Treant. It will go over to the side of C9.
Yeah, and they're able to secure that. Gabe moves in with a little forward barrage action, clears out the scout trap. And Rogue, as 3 are going to huddle up and figure out exactly what's going on here as they clear out the jungle.
Yeah, so the side of Rogue, they're good in the early game. They've got that damage out of the Grumjaw. They're reasonably good in the mid game, and their late game, comes online as soon as Hammy picks up, 4 item spike. Yeah, or even the 2-3 item spike. He's a serious threat and a danger to the side of C9. But I don't know where that puts Gabe Vizzle in terms of that overall scope. He's finished out the fountain. What does he pick up next? Because if he starts to pick up some of more of those utility damage items, if he gets like a poison shiv and uses that to kind of mitigate healing, and his job is to stay alive, kite, apply that mortal wound, maybe that's a strategy. Maybe he ends up going for a breaking point and is just going to survive throughout the fight and then use the stacks to build up his solid damage. Even Harvest going to be finished for Hemi. Evil will finish off his fountain, and so now we're pretty much even in terms of everybody kind of having a damage item. Joseph going for kind of a tanky on-hit build, so it's the side of C9 I think will likely pick up the items that the team needs and less about what their build requires so that they can kind of fill those gaps.
Well, this is going to be incredibly interesting. Gabe picking up a little bit more health for himself, so probably building into a bit more defense. I think he definitely wants to pick up a block. Maybe for his teammate, he could even go for the Crucible, and we'll see how that does play out. But very interesting indeed. Joseph now level 6 has his attack of the pack ready, and Rogue as a unit. They have stuff also on the Grumjaw, but you see everywhere that Rogue move, they're always as a team. Like, these guys are not looking to get caught out here.
No, not after the last game. Not after how well the Kroll was played. I love Joseph. Did an amazing job there, and it's also not worth it. There isn't a point, I think, for the side of Rogue where they're really worried about losing out on too much farm because they're rolling as 3. They should be able to minimize any losses and be able to be as a team whenever that first team fight breaks out.
Well, Pawn forming up in the jungle. C9 are as 3. But honestly, I'm having a bit of a hard time reading any engagement cues coming out of C9 at this point. I think, honestly, it's caught Rogue off guard, too, just based off of how they've been moving now. The Impale's going to come out. A nice job by Old School. Sonic zoom back, but the stuff is up. Pawn's going to go ahead and pull them back. Now, let's see if they can combo up here. They put him up against the wall. Evo, where's the sun there? Old School moving back. One more attack will take him down. Rogue finding first blood against C9 here.
Yeah, they were able to play that, as best as could be. There isn't a lot more I think they can do. They can siege and poke a little bit, maybe just because Hammy is already got that sustain and a little bit more damage. They might feel confident fighting underneath this tower, but it's difficult when you turret dive too far into I Love Joseph. Eventually the fortress is going to start to dish out significant damage. If they'd gone for that, Old School would have been back pretty soon, so it would have been a little too aggressive to go for the turret dive. And I'm waiting for this build from Gabe Vizzle to become apparent, because so far it's the Crucible, it's the Fountain, and that's it. That's all we really know.
Yeah, it's incredibly interesting. I mean, I'm trying to like theory craft in my mind here. Is there a situation where like maybe the Suri strike is allowing him to get onto the back line to do something, but not in this case? Like, it doesn't make sense. Hammy able to take down the turret here. A nice Suri strike from Gabe. Would be threatening if he had damage items, but Hammy's like, okay, bruh, that's okay. I got your turret. We're doing just fine.
Yeah, I don't know where C9 comes online in that sense. Also, it's difficult for them to be able to get that engagement. They've all do a really good job of protecting Hammy repeatedly whenever these engagements start, but they do have that Storm Crown. They can pressure some of these neutral objectives, so maybe that's where they find that, you know, regain in gold. They are up a little bit in gold despite having lost the first tower, you know, very, very early, so maybe that gives them some more space.
Yeah, C9, one of the best at accumulating the net worth across the map. Gabe in there with Joseph. Joseph, he's been a little quiet on the map thus far, but you know, he's got Storm Crown complete, probably building into his Aftershock next. He did pick up that Dragon Blood early, and really the Dragon Blood contract hasn't been doing too much work. Wouldn't be surprised to see him solo it off here soon.
They just haven't been fighting enough. There wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough of a lane phase for them to really get value off of that Dragon Blood contract, use those slows to, you know, play those long chasing team fights. And I don't know, I don't really know where C9 go from here. I think their best course of action is to group up and look to find some significant damage, get the members of Rogue to dive a little bit further so that they can kind of collapse in on them. They're gonna need a good death from above. Gabe Vizzle has to land that crowd control needs to be there to supplement the fact that the damage is very low, and that's a two-man impale and Githyan wall.
Oh, the Githyan wall on top of the group. They're waiting for it. Comes out, but who has found who? They turned around Grumchop. He uses the stuff, but he's getting lit up. They turn it. They take in pawn. They're looking for more. The Rogue, they get under the safety of the turret. C9. They get engaged on, but they find the kills.
Yeah, the Mortal Wounds came out from both Old School and I Love Joseph. Now they're diving a little bit. This turret can do significant damage to Old School. They have to use the Fountain to survive.
Theory crafting source. I mean, when you have a Fortress comp and a Vox who can chase, when these wolves come out, when Joseph's chasing down, not a lot of things that can like block off the path that your opponents want to run to. Death from above is one of those things. He's got his battery, right? So, do you think he goes for an Echo? I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Double death from above could be the answer, especially if he's fast enough on it. Not necessarily because he wants to clump them on top of each other, but he can use one to cut off one line of retreat and then the second one to maybe re-engage the fight once the enemy team decides that they're not going to run away. That's a possibility. He could also be looking at switching this up into a CP build. He sold what weapon power he had. Maybe he turns that into an Eve of Harvest and then a Frostburn and becomes that CP Kiting Sky, because right now pretty much all their crystal powers on I Love Joseph's Aftershock. That's about it. Maybe that's where they find this damage as the game gets later and we get closer to full builds. It doesn't really matter that he's not, you know, the traditional tank or captain.
This is pretty untraditional at this point. He does have the Echo ready to go. I want to see Gabe draw like a perfect 90-degree line intersecting. Just corner them in, just box them in. The literal box with those death from above. So we'll see here. He's taken talents into the Vainglory8.
I mean, get out your protractor. It's time to do some geometry here. Gabe Vizzle is going to need to set these up incredibly well, either by delaying the timing so that his opponents aren't prepared for where the death from above are going to come down, or by really setting them up positionally. If they can force a chase into a death from above, basically Attack of the Bat comes out and they set that up really, really well. Maybe that's how it works, and you're seeing some initial damage upon the original. They're going to go off onto a jungle camp, steal that away, and they're just waiting for the opportune moment to fight.
Oh, nice scout trap, giving them a lot of vision for the last about 10 seconds there. Will be cleared out as C9 retreat back, but you can tell Cloud9 definitely want to fight. It's 12 minutes in though, only 1-to-1 net worth, you know, pretty even across the board, so a one team fight could blow this game open.
Yeah, and we've been very focused on what's going on with Gabe Vizzle and how all of that is going to work, but Hammy's on 3-item spike. You know, we'll be working towards that broken myth soon. Already has the Clockwork Frostburn and Eve of Harvest, so the damage is there, the sustain is there. We've got an Echo for Evol, so already have that double Githian wall. Pawn the Original's got solid damage and some crit. The Grumjaw will kind of fall off a little bit as the game goes on. That damage won't scale as well as Hammy on the Scarf, but because of that, you know, the fact that C9 is taking all of their time with this, I think there's still opportunity for Pawn the Original to really have a big impact on this game, despite us being 12 minutes in, one kill, and basically even gold.
I feel like this game is gonna just absolutely go swinging wildly in the favor of C9 very soon. Old School has his breaking point complete, a fresh level 11 weapon infusion. There's a crystal infusion on Joseph. Gabe's been itching to use that Echo. It's gonna happen any moment here.
I don't know if I have faith yet. I can't put faith in that this strategy just yet.
No. All right. Well, what do you believe? How's it gonna play out here?
Honestly, I don't know. There's the possibility for Pawn the Original to land a really good stuff, and if that happens, the moment he comes out, he's going to land on a goop from Hammy, and that's just a target dead, because nobody on this team is super tanky. I love Joseph. He's built up some defenses, has a bit of health. There's the first death from above to zone that off.
Immense gold payout collected.
He didn't use Echo there, so he's going to have to wait for that. Short cooldown anyway. So not a big deal, but they're able to grab that immense gold payout. We're about 14 minutes in, a minute away from Kraken spawning on the map. I mean, maybe that's the big cue to actually team fighting.
Possibly. I mean, Rogue's composition has a much cleaner engagement. It has a much cleaner win condition. It's very straightforward. Let Hammy poke them down, let Evolve land 1 or 2 good CCs, and Pawn the Original picks up whatever target they feel either they need to remove from the fight or a target that they want to pick off because they've managed to catch somebody out of position. Like, the path to victory is clear for the side of Rogue. It's all about execution for them. On the other side of C9, they're kind of playing this strategy where they have to almost craft the results for a team fight. They have to pick up the idea on the fly as to who they're going to target and when. Unless they know this composition in a way we can't fathom and they know exactly what they're doing, I think that they're definitely, you know, playing a lot of this by ear. The fact that they're doing so well doing it is what's really impressive.
They're going to drop down and take this Crystal Sentry out.
Crystal Sentry
ripping it up. 2 lives remaining. The Kraken has awakened. Evil dropping down. Can he find a Githian wall to start this off? No. But Pawn's here. I thought maybe they'd look for the engage on any stragglers, but Gabe almost kind of baiting them into a situation there. Rogue not going to fall for it, but they will hang around the middle area of the map here as Old School moves up into the lane to clear this out. He needs to shove the lane forward. Lane position so important as you look at these kind of objectives here.
I'm watching Gabe Vizzle, like, poke Evol, and it's just not doing anything. And now they found out Hammy. He's very, very
oh, they're dying death from above right on the spot, but Hammy's living through it. He's just sitting in the death from above. He actually almost went down. Wait for it. They're on the chase. They connected. Joseph's coming through. The bouncing attacks from Old School finding the kill. And Joseph and Gabe Vizzle quite deep into enemy territory. They're gonna go ahead and stuff up onto Gabe as Joseph's like, I don't know, bro. I'm gonna leave you for dead here. Pawn, time to dance around. Gabe Vizzle doesn't have any damage items, but it doesn't even matter. Well, he does have a crystal bit. I have misspoken, team. Up towards the lane, Old School. He's chasing Evil. Evil will go down. That's the ace coming through for Cloud9 as they blow this game open. 16 minutes in.
Old School with the flank. That all gets set up by an aggressive lane position from him, catching out Hammy, and then I just don't know. I don't know how C9 are able to keep such composure with somebody who basically Gabe Vizzle does no damage. He's got crowd control, he's got a little bit of slow off of that forward barrage, even though he's just starting to build a little bit of crystal power. We're starting to see what is likely to be a Frostburn so that they have that kiting potential. They have the Kraken so they can set up a siege to some degree, but Old School, I think, really came through for them on that last team fight, and it's working out for Cloud9. They are just powering through with an unconventional strategy and just making it look like they know exactly what they're doing at every moment. And maybe they do. Maybe they're just the mad geniuses who to come up with something like this.
Who would have thunk it? C9 know what they're doing. Rogue backs against the wall. They're going to have to take this Kraken down as Gabe Vizzle has got his target locked. Death from above coming through, cutting through. Off the path of retreat from Rogue. He's having some fun here, but this Kraken taking a whole bunch of damage. I think they should take it down before the choke point turret does go down. Now they're going to use the stuffed up onto Old School and move back deep with him. Gabe Fizzle chasing forward though. He's going to be able to heal up his ally. Now Dragon's Breath's going to come out, burning them down. They're back to the healing platform. Joseph, that's not your healing platform. Get out of there. And there will be enough healing coming out here to keep Hammy and company alive. They'll take the Kraken down. Rogue still alive here, but just completely on the back foot.
Yeah, C9 did a good job of managing to secure that turret, but couldn't really get much more off of that. There was a good stuff from Pawn the Original. Maybe they actually bring down Old School in a better world for the side of Rogue, but they're still in this. The gold lead is starting to stack up for the side of C9, but again, Gabe Fizzle is just starting to get some damage. There's still plenty of potential for the side of Rogue to find that clean engage they've been looking for, and it's just been kind of this slow-going series of pokes and disengages. There's only been about 4 kills. Most of this gold is coming from the fact that C9 is moving around the map really well, and that one team fight to really go in their favor. Now maybe this is the opportunity for Rogue to defend their Crystal Sentry, but they don't. And the members of C9 will walk away and continue to build up items. Gabe Fizzle has finished that Frostburn.
I mean, honestly, that's how it feels watching this game. It's like, maybe here's an opportunity, and it's gone. Frostburn complete for Gabe, as you mentioned. Plus, he's got all these utility items. Just having this one item right here, it's pretty significant. He's going to work right towards it, looking for a target. Nice stun on the Evil. From Evil, buying a bit more time as wait for it flies out. C9, thinking maybe they had an opportunity, but not quite catching Rogue.
Yeah, Evil with a good Githian wall back, and that kind of cuts the engagement down, which is where we see some of the weakness that is C9's composition. They're very fast. They've been able to position in these interesting ways to be able to find these team fights. But Rogue doesn't need to oblige them. Rogue can continue to step back. They can get off one good Githian wall and disengage things completely. We also haven't seen Hammy be able to set up the siege, set up that positioning that we like to see out of Scars. Here comes Death from above. Maybe this is the fight they needed.
I don't know if that's the one they're looking for. Now it's Isle of Joseph, the attack of the pack. He's out upon the original. Hammy is the target. There you go. They're going to jump onto Hammy. They're up against the wall. Can Evil do what he needs to peel them? Old School burning down from the Dragon's Breath. Old School dropping low. Can Rogue find the kill? Yes, they can, but they traded 1 for 1. Now the party is on. Pawn the Original, what can it do? You need to be more angry than this. Joseph trading out. Gabe Fizzle's there. Suri strikes in. They have vision. A double kill coming out for Joseph. Evil, he's going to look at combat roll and get himself out of here. I think he gets out of this one. Yeah, another combat roll. Look at the death from above. Oh my goodness. He talked about protractors. My goodness. Gabe Fizzle is a protractor.
Gabe Fizzle managing to dish out enough damage over the course of the fight. Evil looking for the fight.
Oh.
He's thinking about it. Gets a couple more roots. Does a cheeky back, but Rogue, they opened that fight up really well. But Gabe Fizzle is starting to weirdly come online in this team fight. So we see the members of Rogue kiting upwards. Gabe Fizzle goes in fairly deep, gets stunned up. Pawn the Original is continuously kiting backwards, and this is really what we want to see out of Hammy. He's getting off those Spitfire, starts to dish out the damage. They managed to bring down Old School just at the end of that, but Hammy wasn't getting that much appeal. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for Evil to be able to keep him alive past that Dragon's Breath. And I think that's really where they're running into trouble, is they need to somehow keep Gabe Fizzle off of Hammy. Because if Hammy's able to survive these team fights repeatedly, they will dish out the damage. It's just getting difficult for them to do that as we see more crystal power coming for Gabe Fizzle.
I did really like their positioning. Like, you would expect the Scarf to move back. Hold that thought. We might have a fight here. Old School, they have the positioning advantage. They're going to go ahead and force the lane forward. Now Joseph back to the back is out. The chase is on. Hammy's on the backside. He has to reposition. Joseph's there. Old School's there. They're on top of the Scarf. The baby dragon is down. Old School's still alive. 12 breaking points stacking up. He's dropping low. Sonic Zoom back. Evil will take him down. Pawn will run away as the wolves are chasing. Evil trying to buy a little bit of time here. And it looks like he's going to do just fine. Oh, nope. Gabe 3 strikes already got him. Hey, that's not fair.
Looked like he was out of there, but Gabe Fizzle manages to catch him out. He's still holding onto those flares, so it's probably just going to wait until it's time for a full build item. Now the Kraken is being started. I wouldn't say that they have a particularly fast Kraken. Neither of them really wants to tank it, and now Pawn the Original is here, but they see him.
They see Pawn. Pawn's in a bad place. Grumpy over the wall. Gabe Fizzle's there. He's going to turn. He's angry, applying the damage. Gabe can't trade the damage, but he drops the death from above. It's just a matter of time till Joseph gets there. Joseph lighting him up with his buddy, old pal, Gabe Fizzle. That's going to be the ace. 9-3. Cloud9 have the strong advantage here in this one.
Yep, now they have the time and pretty much the safety to be able to pick up this Kraken. Maybe Hammy decides to show up and make a hero play, steal away the Kraken. But there is still an opportunity for one more good defense from the side of Rogue. They're not out of this just yet. However, they need to find that setup for the Scarf. Hammy needs to have the space to maneuver, the space to poke. And they've just been, C9's been unwilling to allow for that. Now their composition is about chasing, is about speed, is about mobility and kiting. So it's going to be difficult for the Scarf to survive for a long period of time. The challenge will be on Evil. Can he keep Scarf safe?
Evil, one of the best captains in the scene right now. A lot of weight on his shoulders, but I tell you, I don't know if anyone could stop what's about to come out of C9 here as they start to bear down on the base of Rogue. We're going to be looking for some valiant plays from this Rogue squad here. There's the clock ticking against them at this point. Pawn wants to get some damage onto the Kraken, but puts himself in a vulnerable position. Hammy just throwing the Spitfires. He's so good at taking these objectives. He wants to build up the broken myth, so it's kind of the risk you take. If you throw a Spitfire, it's not going onto the Kraken. What's the play here? Hammy maybe looking to bait them in. Joseph with the attack of the pack out. Old School's onto the turret. Hammy hit with that death from above coming out of Gabe Fizzle there. They're going to move in. Dragon's Breath wound up. He's got the block out. He's on to Old School. Old School burning down. He's taking pretty good damage. Can they find him? Yes, he can. Hammy's still alive. Pawn, he's pulled Joseph back into the healing platform. Joseph, will he be able to get out of here? I don't know if Pawn actually has his Hammy trading, trying to take down Gabe Fizzle. They'll knock Gabe Fizzle back towards the healing platform. They got him. They didn't lose anybody. They get the ace. Rogue are still alive. This was the god defense that they needed.
They finally find the team fight. Hammy with continuous kiting. Pawn the original with the stuff to bring I Love Joseph into the healing fountain and be able to get that additional damage. And that was what they needed. They took the right target out of the fight. They let Hammy just position repeatedly and just juke and jive and land all of those Spitfires. Looked a little dicey towards the beginning just because there were a few Spitfires missing, but they should be able to pick up a few of these turrets, get a little bit more gold under their belt. It's not as if they need that much of it for Hammy, but Pawn the original can still scale up a little bit. Maybe Evil can get another item. I think probably build an Aftershock at this with what his build looks like, and they can set up a bunch of vision, get what they need to be able to stop the possible backdoor from C9. They do one or two more team fights like that. Maybe they manage to pick up a Kraken in there, and Rogue can take this to a game 3.
That's a lot of things that need to happen here.
It's a tall order. It's a long list.
It's a
they
long
have a composition that can do it.
I mean, starting with the vision, let's look at that. It's like this map has chicken pox right now, so Evil doing a good job to get the vision down, but C9 moving out, starting to clear out some scout traps. Hammy, he feels the pressure. Hammy, you gotta get back here. He's on backside. Justin Love's going to cut Rogue in half here. He's putting out good damage. A couple broken misstacks starting to come out for Dragon's Breath, burning them down, but Old School, he's in here. So Atlas Pauldron was applied. Grumpjaw taking way too much damage. He's stuffed up. It's gonna be Pawn going down first. Hammy, I think you're in a bad place, and he's probably gonna go down. They traded one for one. Can Hammy find Joseph? Yes, they got the double kill. And now it's God Fizzle versus Evil. Evil, time to dance around. It should be a Suri strike over the top side. There you go, Gabe. Let's play some games. Ford Barrage coming through, keeping the target lock on. Gabe low energy at this point, not having the target lock. I assume he's gonna let this one go.
Yeah, wouldn't be worth chasing for the fight. And also, wait, they find each other. The dance continues.
Wait a second.
Gabe is
Gabe!
He can win.
He was like, yo, Evil, you know your vein crystal's exposed? So this shouldn't be Gabe ending the game, but honestly, he's just having some fun here.
I thought for a minute he was gonna actually try and end the game. Throws out a recall. Will kite backwards. You know, Evil might kill him.
Evil, I mean, if he got that impale on top of the scout trap, he did almost get the stun there. Evil sunning him up. Evil, get him! Move forward, combat roll, take down the God Fizzle. Oh, reflex at the end. Who can make such plays? A Githian wall, calculated. It would have put Sky further away and then not given him the kill, but he gets it. What a god.
That is huge. Now Rogue could just be back into this game. They will burn through this Kraken very, very quickly. Hammy does more than enough damage. Evil with what looked like kind of a trolly situation, them poking each other. One was eventually going to back, but he stops his back and opens up the map for his team by picking up the Kraken. Maybe, just maybe, Rogue is able to win this game if they can make the perfect engagement happen off of this Kraken push.
Unbelievable. One of the best in the business, Source. Scarf loves to push behind a Kraken. As long as they don't get too over aggressive, like you said, they play this, you know, cool, calm, and collected, they should be able to do okay. Pawn. He's not cool, calm, and collected. He's trying to use that stuffed ability onto old school. It's going to be blocked off. Stuffed won't be available. But Rogue have taken down the choke point. Turret looking for more. First war treads come out of Gabe Bizzle. They have 3 war treads on this team. They're moving forward. They're looking for the engage. If they take 2 down, they'll easily be able to end this. Kraken marching forward. Tammy with the Dragon's Breath. He's moving forward, trying to burn down old school. Old school dropping low, but they take down Hammy first. And they haven't lost anybody for Cloud9 yet. This is Pawn the Original. He's in a bad place. And it looks like Rogue have just lost this one. Ladies and gentlemen, Evil getting trolled out by the Crystal Sentry. And no, Evil's going to go, and he's going to look to roll over the wall as Cloud9 march down the lane. But you got to assume that Cloud9 will get onto that Vein Crystal and burst it down. No, Evil, no! Oh, failed wall rolls. It's okay, buddy. You probably didn't have enough damage anyway. Cloud9! I'm going to take this one.
That was so close for Rogue. I thought that they could bring this back all the way, but a minor mispositioning from the partially from Hammy. They all went down into the jungle, and it cost them in that team fight. We'll let the desk break this one down, but what an amazing performance from Cloud9.
What a game coming out from both of these teams. Cloud9 take it in the end, only by a hair. Evil trying to get a backdoor at the last second as well. But oh my goodness. And also, the supportal combat happening. Evil and Gabe 1v1ing towards the end of the game. So close to actually losing the game for Cloud9 as well. I don't even know where to start with this one.
I'm almost at a loss for words, which is not something that happens very frequently. This was just ridiculous. That's the only word I can think of to describe this game. A Captain Sky, through and through Captain Sky until the Frostburn. That's the only differentiation between a regular Captain build and what Gabe Bizzle did on the Sky.
Right, I mean, let's start at the beginning, right? Captain Sky and Fortress in the jungle for the side of C9. That's a composition that can do well later on just because Fortress and Vox synergize so well, but it's extremely weak early game. I was really surprised to see Rogue not do anything. You can see it's 15 minutes in and it's just 2 kills on the board. This is one of the team fights that C9 won and then got turrets off of. Hammy is going to end up dying off of the resonance bounces, and then eventually Gabe Bizzle is going to finish off on the original, even though he has such little damage. That one crystal bit is making it work, and then they get 2 turrets and they get so far ahead. But again, my point is, why was Rogue so passive? You have to play aggressive. You have a Grumchaw Lance. You have all the tools to shut down Fortress. That's what they needed to do.
Yeah, and like you said, Grum